Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's talk about change, transformation. Many of you may want to change who you are, but you never will. You never will. Most people don't. You know why? Because a lot of people aren't willing to give up who they used to be in order to embrace their destiny. You follow me? You have to give up that dysfunctional version of yourself. You have to give up who you've always been. You make these statements, oh, I've always been that way. You need to stop doing that shit. I've always thought this way. This is the way I've always been. What that is a statement saying, I refuse to change. You can't change me. And you're on the wrong channel, my friend. Because that's what we talk about here. Mind, body, and soul, daily discipline. It's interesting when people are resistant to change, but then desperately want it at the same time. You have to be able to make way, make room for something new in your life. The new shit in your life won't come to you. That stuff that you dream of, this destiny that you have in the back of your head that you wish that you could get to, well, that won't come. That will always be a fantasy out of your reach until you make way, make room. You want to buy a new sofa, you got to get rid of the old one. I had a buddy of mine's dad who was a hoarder. It's concerning when you meet a real life hoarder. I'd go over to his house when I was a teenager. You know, always going over to his house to smoke pot because his dad didn't care. And there'd be 7 couches in the living room, just stacked up, not even put out. One day, me and my buddy, we got all high and we said, we're going to do something with all them goddamn couches in the living room. Just couches everywhere. So we took and put a bunch of them out in the back and then set up the living room like a real nice living room. For the first time ever, it was set up like a nice living room. It was amazing. We sat in there and we're just like, whoa, this is crazy. He was like, as long as I've lived here, and I've lived here since I was a little boy, we've never had a useful living room. His dad came home and freaked the fuck out. He had a major breakdown. Put it all back, put it all back. Within a day, all the sofas were back in the fucking living room. Some people are just crazy like that. They can't get rid of the fucking mess inside their heads. They can't get rid of the past, the junk, the refuse, what's not worth keeping. They can't recognize that stuff. They hold on to stuff like a security blanket, like your childhood toys, holding on to baggage. You need to let all that stuff go. Let it all go. I wasn't able to fully make my transformation from who I used to be into who I am now until I gave up the old person, until I realized that motherfucker's dead. I had to kill him. I had to kill the old version of me. That's a fucking hit that you have to do. You don't get somebody else to do that job. You got to do that because that's personal. You got to kill that motherfucker. It's like in the mafia. If I bring you into the family and we make you as a made man and you fuck up somewhere down the road, say you make a big mistake and you really fuck up, it happens. This is something that can't be forgiven. You really fucked up. Guess who has to hit you? Guess who has to kill you? I brought you in. I get to take you out. So you got to take out that old version of yourself. Take them out. Murder them. Get rid of them. I'm not talking about suicide. I'm talking about a mental shift of giving up the past, of giving up everything that you knew, everything that you were, giving up all the shit that you put into stone, all that stuff, those lessons you chiseled into stone when you learned when you were weak, that you learned when you were traumatized, that you learned when you were stupid. Get rid of all that shit and make room for mind, body, and soul, for a new version of yourself. And you're going to start filling this new version of, this empty space with this new version of yourself, a version that you create. And this is where you get to take control of your life. Finally, for once, you get to finally grow up. When you get to be who you want to be. For the first time, you get to be an individual. For all the while that you say, I am who I am because of the past, because you did this to me, because the war did this to me, my parents did this to me, society did this to me, the judge did this to me, prison did this to me. When as long as you're going with that bullshit, you'll never get to where you want to go. You'll never be free. You'll always be that old version. You have to give all those excuses up. Give it all up. Release it all. Get rid of it all. And for a while, you'll be left like a lobster without its shell. You'll be in your molting stage. You'll be vulnerable. I remember going through this when I was in Los Angeles. It was right around the year 2001, 2000, and I was going through a heavy transformation in my life. And I didn't know who I was anymore. I felt awkward. I felt weak. I just felt like a fish out of water, and it honestly felt uncomfortable. I didn't like it. And I wanted to go back to who I was, because that was a persona that I was comfortable with. But I knew that was, you can never go back. You can't go back. I knew I had to go forward. Even if it was scary, I knew I had to develop a new shell. A shell not created by others, a shell created by myself, that I create. I create who I am now. You don't get to. Society doesn't get to. Babylon doesn't get to. I learned how to respond to what happens to me, instead of having my response be this triggered, primal, kind of freaked out dog, fight or flight. That's where PTSD comes from. Now I can have a rational mind, and this all started from me giving up who I used to be. There's a lot of you out there that are too scared to do this, that you can't make this transition. You can't give up who you were. You can't give up who society created you as. You think it's a survival skill. You think you're hard. It's so funny. I always thought I was such a hard, tough motherfucker. I really did. That was my self-image for so long. I survived so many bullets and beatings and baseball bats and knives, and oh my God, I've been through it all. And I thought that made me hard. It made me so weak. I was such a weak, broken individual from my past. And I only realize this now with this new shell that's much harder, hard in a different way. I realize now that what I thought was strength was nothing but weakness. I was just talking about this with a guy in the gym this morning. I guess that's just why it's on my head. And you know, he kind of looks at me as this reformed, tough guy, and you know, like as if I've been tough my whole life. And a lot of people have seen me that way, as this tough guy. But as I've made this transition into what I consider a better person, a better version of myself, living a disciplined lifestyle, being righteous and virtuous, following purpose and meaning. You know, as I've made this transition, I realized that what I thought was hard was just weakness. It was a mask, and behind that mask was a weak little boy crying out for a father, crying out for discipline, crying out for order. But I didn't realize it. I was all into anarchy. I was all into going crazy. But what I really needed was discipline. A lot of people aren't really getting what I'm talking about. You can't be the man you were created to be. You can't be the person that you were destined to be until you give up who you used to be. It's all food for thought. Thanks for watching.